Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Tash Mitch, the Chakra Alchemist. And today I've got my friend Carmen, who we're basically going to be speaking about leadership and the fact that in this space where we are, in the mind, body, and spirit space, where it's really about transformation and it's about healing and it's about evolution, how do we actually get to that point where we're in congruence with our own leadership and also being a leader for the people around us and our community as well. And this is a conversation that we've had numerous times, so it's absolutely brilliant to be having this conversation with you here. Carmen, welcome.
Thank you, Tash. I feel just the same. It's such an honor and pleasure always, to talk to you about this kind of stuff that's going on for all of us all the time in our life. So, I'm really excited about this and see what we can explore in this conversation.
Absolutely. So just tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing in this healing space.
Okay, so like yourself, I'm an energy healer. I love bringing people back into their balance energetically, but I very specifically go into relationship issues. So first of all, your relationship with yourself, and then how this translates in relationship with the significant others, and then families, friends, and so on. And just look at patterns and see how we can come to much more authentic relationships and relating with one another.
Mm. And for me, basically, as a chakra alchemist, I sort of use the chakras as a framework to take people into their energy and all the different nuances of their energy and how to get those balanced. So it'll be an interesting conversation on leadership here. Leadership for me is very much in the sacral, some of it's in the sacral, but also in the solar plexus, that sort of sense of who are we? And what's our point of view, and having quite a strong point of view that's aligned to who we are and who we feel we want to be, that kind of thing. When you think of leadership, what comes up for you?
And for me, it's also about really being it and doing it myself, kind of leading it by example. Yeah. And as a mother of two children, I kind of felt that's always been kind of pushing me a lot more into that. Like, kids they say that, don't they? Kids don't just listen to what you say, they look at what you do, and then that's what they follow. So really, you have to show it. You can't just say it and expect them to do it. And, I keep reframing that for myself every day. It's like, am I really doing it? Am I just talking about it?
Which is really funny in this space, isn't it? Because basically a lot of it is being in a consultation kind of mode, where and also being in a mode where you create a space for people to express, but also there's an element of consultation and an element of guidance in that role as well. And a lot of times it could be so easy to say, yes, just do this, this, and this, and this, almost kind of like as a offering a solution, and then they obviously take it and take what's resonating with it. But there are times when, like, basically the solution that's being offered, you're kind of like asking in and of yourself, is that what I'm doing? Do I do that? Am I following my own advice? Do you know what I mean? And there's a constant with that for me, definitely.
Definitely, yes. And it's great, isn't it? It's that practice of self-reflection, of really checking in whether you are being truthful in that moment in time, and whether it still is your truth, because our truth sometimes might change depending on our awareness and the situations we're in. And then really, like you said, taking that tool and coming back in and going, re-evaluating, I guess, is this really still appropriate for me? Does this still really apply? Does this really still help at this moment in time? Or maybe do I need to make some adjustments on this? Yeah. And the questioning, coming with that open mind and that open heart.
It also brings up that point of what does it mean to be a leader as well, because previously the idea of leadership was always kind of like that hierarchy where you've got the leader that's like a triangle, and the leader's at the top of the triangle, and then it's kind of like leading everything else down below. You've got like, and I feel like leadership at the moment in and of itself is changing. The idea of leadership is changing from that kind of very sort of structured way of leading people, you know, being the top of the organization, to understanding that we all are leaders in our own right. And a lot of what I'm doing actually is helping people to find the leadership within their own selves. Partly by demonstrating it, but also partly by mirroring it as well, you know, mirroring what I'm seeing as their leadership qualities, and kind of tuning in, having them tune in to see if that's resonating with them, basically.
And how do you use the chakras to bring that forward, if you don't mind me asking?
So when I think of leadership, I think of the solar plexus chakra. And I think of that sort of sense of actually really rooting into what the core identity is, who am I as a person, and what my strengths are, and, you know, just basically how I show up in the world around me as an individual. And you can take that into each of the chakras. So you can take it into the base chakra, and then it will be in terms of how do I show up as an individual within my community. When it comes to business, how does that, you know, how am I sustaining myself as an individual? What do I want from the sustenance in the world around me as an individual? Where do I go to for my resources, my physical resources as an individual? Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of, and then we can go up to the sacral chakra, which is very much about the feeling and the emotional body. And again, it's tuning into my personal identity when it comes to my feelings and my emotions, and what's my own personal guiding force in terms of my feelings and emotions. So what I tend to do is I tend to take the topic and go through each of the energy centers with it, basically.
That sounds really great. I like that. It gives such a good roadmap, doesn't it, to really check in of, you know, in which areas we are. Maybe because we might not always be leading in the same kind of areas. Yes. We might be, you know, very much in our heart, but might maybe not be, you know, connected with our intuition and our solar plexus or whatever. Yeah. So I really like that. Yeah. Yeah, and we have talked about what leadership means to us as well in this day and age, especially with regard to, like you said, the hierarchy, but also maybe coming as women into this. And, you know, everybody's talking about the divine feminine. So for me, the divine feminine is in men and in women. How are we all showing up as leaders, and how are we showing the world, or also for me, the next generations, of how to lead our lives nowadays, and how to be, you know, showing up authentically, I think comes up for me very strongly in that. Yeah. And am I being really true to what's going on for me, and am I, if I'm being true to that, am I also then expressing that openly, not necessarily in an aggressive way, but in an, you know, open invitation way. I always love when you say, let's get the invitation into that. What are we inviting in? And that's such a lovely calm way and space of just opening up this realm of exploration, really.
When you've got your own business, for example, and you're a solo entrepreneur in that business, basically the way that you define leadership becomes very different, because it isn't kind of about a chain of command. Do you know what I mean? It isn't kind of like staking your claim and like basically, sending sort of like commands down so everybody else can follow. It's basically more about collaboration. It's coming in, it's recognizing other people's strengths and meeting them with your own strength. And what can you create in certain areas and realms when we both come together as leaders in our own right. It's encouraging others to be strong as you are strong, and understanding also that strength is about vulnerability as well. So there's a softness in the strength. So the definition of leadership for me has like really morphed and changed as I've been going along, especially running my own business. It definitely has changed my ideas of what it means to be a leader. And at one point I would have said, no, absolutely not. Now I'm not a leader. Do you know what I mean? Based on that kind of like chain of command element. Whereas now I can fully plant myself in the fact that I am a leader, just basically by the fact that I'm running this business. But also, in order to run the business effectively, standing up and being a leader is sort of a prerequisite of it, basically.
Yeah, And I love what you said about coming together on sort of more equal terms and the contribution. This is what I love about our conversation. There's always such a richness because we are seeing each other both for who we are and what we're having to contribute. And in that, the energy just multiplies and magnifies. And what comes out of it is there's always learning for both of us, I feel, and there's always teachings for both of us. And it's such a beautiful exchange. Yes. And that's what I really love about what I would call the collaborative energy, bringing it together in that way.
Yes.
And I really treasure this. Yeah. And I hope that, people who are listening to this might get, similar, response from just listening in and reflecting for themselves of where they're at and what they're actually seeing as being their own way of leading and showing up in their lives or in whatever context that might be.
I feel like the other part of leadership, which doesn't always get spoken about a lot, is the fact that for you to be a leader, you have to be the eternal student. Do you know what I mean? You're the one that's actually continuously learning, continuously, stretching the mind, continuously kind of stretching the boundaries. And also in the space of like, if there's a facilitation that happens where you're inviting people into a space, even as a facilitator, which ultimately would be seen as a leader, you are still very much a student of that space. You're still very much about teasing out the wisdom of everybody else and teasing out the leadership qualities in everybody else so that they teach you. Do you know what I mean? As well as you teaching them. And for me, that's been like a huge lesson, actually, the student element of the leader. What about you?
Yeah, I very much resonate with the word facilitator, even though I am a trained teacher, but teaching doesn't feel right for me anymore, exactly in the same dynamic as you described. I'm not here to tell other people all my wisdom, and that's the end of it. I really would like, what I do want to do and what I do is to facilitate that exchange, because we are always learning, and I've always been that way. I love learning from others. So therefore, then my insights come forward much quicker and the other way around. So, if that exchange is given, like you said, it doesn't become stagnant. It is ever expanding. It opens up completely. And we're all learning every day on a day-to-day basis. Awareness and consciousness is forever growing. So, the minute you shut yourself down, it's almost like the end. There's no more forward going with that. So, no, it doesn't bring that richness and lusciousness in and that excitement that life brings when you are, doing it the other way around. So, yes, definitely. Yeah. And I feel that even with my boys, they're both now, men of their own right. And I love it. I don't see it as a challenge. I see it as an enrichment, having conversations where we can all bring in the things we're learning and the wisdom we are bringing in from life and exchanging it. Wow, there's so much to learn. Yeah. And just creates a much healthier relationship all in all.
So if you were going to leave everybody, including myself, with a nugget on leadership and your perception and viewpoint and vision of leadership, what would you say?
Oh, that's a very good question. I feel for me it goes back to, would I do it? Am I prepared to do it? Yeah. And if I step into it, then I'm leading by example. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm leading it like you were saying earlier yourself. You are a leader in your own right just by showing up, just by doing it and expecting. Sometimes it might work, sometimes it might not work. There's no perfect way. It's about showing up and having the experience and going through that and honoring that in yourself as well as in others. And I feel therefore it allows the judgment to drop away a lot more, which creates more harmony in relating with one another. Yes. How about you? What would you say? What would be your nugget for today?
I feel like basically leadership is so much about being in it, being in the soup of life. Do you know what I mean? And just actually really immersing in it and actually not taking it too seriously. But for me, definitely leadership is about that juxtaposition of actually being the student, being the vulnerable one, being the one that basically is there to learn even as you facilitate, and to learn even as you are guiding the way forward to a large degree. Because there's that understanding that we are all divine beings with our own divine blueprint, and basically, are miraculous, each and every one of us. So when we open that space to allow what's miraculous in you to interact with what's miraculous in me, for me, that's what real true leadership is. It's about actually lifting everybody else up, because there's that sense of understanding that I am here to be lifted and to lift, to inspire and be inspired, to be in the soup and also sometimes be apart and stand sometimes apart and alone as a leader. But to be vulnerable and to be strong, all of those nuances basically. So yes, that's what I would say about leadership.
Beautiful, I love it.
All right, so basically if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way of doing that?
Best way to get in touch with me is to go on my Facebook page, which is Carmen Vesztergom. That's Vesztergom, and connect with me on Messenger. And yeah, there we go. How about you?
And I'm Tash at tashmitch.com. My email address, and my website is www.tashmitch.com. All right, lovelies, it's been absolutely brilliant. I hope you've enjoyed this installment, and I absolutely adore speaking to Carmen, so I'm sure we'll be doing something along these similar lines on a different topic soon. All right.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.